Little recap, we're halfway at charge 13, and Napoleon already got 500 years in Bulgaria. Enjoy. Napoleon claimed that he had about 7 mistresses. To that, I say cap. He had at least 20, but hey, I'm not here to talk about the man's love life. I'm here to talk about that. From 1802 to 1804, he was seeing Margaret Georges, an extremely famous French stage actress at the time. Now you might be saying, well, hey detective, what's the problem here? A guy can't have some fun? Of course a guy can have some fun, you know, if she's not born in 1787. Oh, you didn't do the math yet. Okay, well, do I have to spell it out to you? She was 15. 15, he was 33. The fuck? That's gonna cost him like 500 muskets. Pedo. Charge 14. Napoleon soon came to the realization that his ambitions in Haiti and North America were going absolutely nowhere. Oh, and also the British were mobilizing for another coalition. In other words, his hands were tied, and he gave up his colonial ambitions to free some space for his pinky to scratch his nose. The fuck am I saying? He sold Louisiana to an eager America for $15 million in what is known today as the Louisiana Purchase. Sounds great, right? Well, what if I told you that France didn't really own the land that they were selling? You see, the French got it from the Spanish just 3 years before the sale, and a vast majority of the land was inhabited by indigenous populations. Some real level 1,000 alpha male guru charlatan shit. Need money to go to war with Britain? Just sell land you don't own to the Americans. Nonetheless, the Americans were eager to purchase it, doubling their size at just like 3 cents per acre, while simultaneously getting rid of more pesky Europeans. Fraud. Charge 15. In 1804, Napoleon was informed of an assassination plot on his life. It put Louis-Antoine de Bourbon, Duke of Enghien, as the suspect. Louis previously fought against the revolution and had royal blood. In other words, he was a royalist. Without hesitation, Napoleon ordered the kidnapping of the Duke, directly violating the sovereignty of Baden in southern Germany. Kidnapping. Charge 16. After a secret military trial, the Duke was executed for aiding Britain and plotting against France. I think it's important also to note that the French authorities had no evidence to support their claims. Shortly after, Napoleon used these assassination plots to justify him becoming emperor. The rationale being a royalist Bourbon restoration would be a lot more difficult if his family's succession was entrenched in the constitution. First-degree murder. Charge 17. Europe was at war again. This time, it was the War of the Third Coalition. There were 7 coalitions in total. As per usual, Napoleon won on land, but failed at sea. Napoleon completely outmaneuvered the Austrians at the Battle of Ulm. The victory led a path straight into Vienna, the capital of the Austrians. The fall of Vienna provided France with tons of loot. They captured 100,000 muskets and 500 cannons respectively. Grand larceny. Charge 18. Ever since day 1 from the siege of Toulon to the Egyptian campaign, one thing was clear. Napoleon's true enemy, Napoleon's arch enemy, his joker to his bad man, was Britain.
I just woke up in a fucking steaming mood, yeah? Because I live in a shithole! Do you know what I mean? Birmingham is a...
Everything in continental Europe revolved around Britain and her influence. But with Britain, unlike with every other power that stood in Napoleon's way, he couldn't directly fight Britain on land because of its navy. We're talking about the guy who invaded Russia and went all the way to Moscow. If it was on the continent, his army was on it. With this in mind, he tried the next best thing, to fight the war economically. The continental system was established in 1806 in an attempt to cut Britain off entirely from the European mainland, from British goods to even its literal mail. It was Britain's absolute worst nightmare. You gotta give it to the man. All European nations and French allies had to stop trading with Britain immediately, and Napoleon specifically threatened both of the shaky nations of Russia and Portugal with invasions if they didn't comply. Extortion. Charge 19. The Anglo-Portuguese alliance is the oldest known alliance in history and is still ongoing to this day, 637 years strong. Safe to say the Portuguese didn't intensively read between the lines. This wasn't gonna slide, so Napoleon in 1807 negotiated a secret treaty of Charles IV of Spain and sent an army for the Iberian Peninsula with orders to invade Portugal. Secret treaty. Charge 20. Sadly for the Spanish, Napoleon was a very devious, nefarious, ambitious man because he also used this opportunity to send French agents to divide the Spanish royal family. For perhaps if he ever wanted to put his brother on the Spanish throne. Foreign interference. Charge 21. In 1809, Napoleon annexed the Papal States and kidnapped the Pope again. I say again because he actually did this 10 years before in 1799 to a different Pope who actually in fact died in captivity. Yeah, Jesus. Pope Pius VII was imprisoned by the French for 5 whole years. He was completely furious at Napoleon, but in true Pope fashion apparently still recognized him as his son, albeit his most stubborn son. Kidnapping. Twice. Charge 23. It's 1814 and the Napoleonic Wars are nearing a tragic end. The clever allies announced to the French people that their war was against Napoleon and not the French. The allies were going to accept nothing less than Napoleon's full abdication. In 1814, after overwhelming pressure, Napoleon abdicated and was exiled to the island of Elba, once again off the coast of Italy. The emperor would spend his final days there reflecting, contemplating. Just kidding, he escaped his island prison and returned to France for a glorious round 2. Fugitive. Charge 24. Round 2 didn't last that long, but my god, was it a glorious 100 days. The whole gang got back together and before you could say what the hell is happening, Napoleon was back on the battlefield. It was going well for the French against the British until the Prussians came and totally changed the numbers on the battlefield. Napoleon was once again exiled, this time far, far away from France in the middle of nowhere. The middle of nowhere actually has a name, Saint Helena. I guess you could say there was a common theme throughout Napoleon's life, islands. He died there on the 5th of May, 1821 after spending 6 years in isolation on the island. Exile. Napoleon's total sentence amounts to being banned from the following: the making of a snowball, the island of Corsica, thanks Paoli, museums so he can't steal the art, miners because and Europe. He will receive an 11,100 musket penalty, followed by an 860 cannon fine, 1,400 years in an internment camp in Bulgaria, and finally he will issue an imperial apologie to the following parties: Egypt for the Rosetta Stone, voters for rigging referendums, Haiti for reinstating slavery, the indigenous population which inhabited the lands of the Louisiana Purchase for not including them at the table, the Spanish for the agents, the church for kidnapping a couple popes, no hard feelings and finally the coalition for escaping Elba. Anybody object? Good. Subscribe. Please.